news. So why not start with the National Football League and maybe the biggest story going on, not just in sports, but maybe in American culture right now, especially with COVID-19, Aaron Rodgers and the whole vaccine issue. I mean, it's been the most captivating story in a long while, and there's been a lot this year, especially in the National Football League. But Johnny, what was your reaction hearing that, not that Aaron Rodgers got COVID, because a lot of players, I just heard Nick Chubb today got COVID, like a lot of guys are getting COVID, but the fact that he lied about his vaccination status by saying he was immunized, right? And that's the word. And he didn't wear a mask around the facilities, reportedly. Acted like he was a vaccinated player, even though he wasn't. Johnny, what was your takeaway when hearing about the Aaron Rodgers news?
I mean, I remember being like surprised he said he got COVID-19 because he said he was immunized at the beginning of the year, right? Mm-hmm. But I mean, I don't think the issue is the fact he got COVID, right? It's the fact that he lied about it and the fact that he, was walking around without a mask and potentially spreading it to his teammates because it's a detriment to the team, at the end of the day. But I don't know. I think I support everyone's choice. Vaccine, not vaccine, it's okay. But you have to act as if you're unvaccinated. You can't act you're vaccinated if you don't have the vaccine yet. Mm-hmm. I think that's the biggest issue. And the takeaway here is that we can't really trust whatever he says.
Yeah, because I know Carson Wentz is not vaccinated for a fact. He stated he wasn't vaccinated, but he has to get tested every single day, where vaccinated players only have to test like once every 2 weeks is what I heard. You have to wear a mask on the sidelines. Obviously, Wentz has a mask on. So while we might not agree with his approach of not getting vaccinated, at least he's following the NFL protocol. Aaron Rodgers, in his one of the opening press conferences this year, a reporter straight asked him, "Are you vaccinated? And how do you deal with the players who aren't vaccinated?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm immunized," and then continued on his answer. Then we find out, week 9 of the NFL season rolls along, huge game against Kansas City. Aaron Rodgers gets COVID. But then when the word got out that, this guy is not vaccinated, Gav, it just blew up, and it's really insane what's going on right now.
No, when I first heard the news, I kind of think, okay, he got COVID. Players are going to get COVID. There's a pandemic going around. There's a good chance, with all the amount of people and the amount of appearances these guys are making, people are going to get COVID. It's going to happen. But then you read more into it, you hear that this guy was walking around, like you said, not following the precautions for an unvaccinated player, telling people that he was, quote-unquote, immunized via the horse dewormer or whatever he got from Joe Rogan. And all I really have to say is that there are so many players that are going against their beliefs and getting vaccinated for their livelihood and for and for their families and taking one for the team, essentially.
Literally, in this case.
Literally, and then you have players like Aaron Rodgers who aren't taking that so seriously. You're Aaron Rodgers. You can afford to miss 2 weeks. You look at guys that are just barely cracking the roster, or guys that are on the practice squad. Their jobs are on the line if they get COVID. They can't afford to be out for 2 weeks because that could be their football career. Meanwhile, you got players like him walking around without a mask, without a vaccine, willy-nilly, and then they get 2 weeks out, but they'll be fine. But what's going to happen to the punter who just got signed to the practice squad? What happens when he gets COVID? That's his job.
They're just going to move on.
Yeah.
Really unfortunate. I mean, not only there's jobs, but there's also lives in the stakes. So it's really, you lose a lot of respect for someone when they do something like that. I don't really have much of a say in the matter because I'm just who cares? But really, it's, come on, man. If you're a guy like Aaron Rodgers, if, like you said, you don't have, if it's your belief not to get vaccinated, you can't expect the NFL to stick like the SNL skit and bring you onto the Ellen show and stick a vaccine in your neck.
Yeah.
But just don't lie. You don't, come on. Like, this is a league. There are rules for a reason, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't, again, we mentioned Carson Wentz and other athletes, and you know what? People were getting mad about Kyrie Irving not getting the vaccine at all, but at least he stated his beliefs. I'm not vaccinated. I'm not getting it. All right, fair enough. But at least he's away from the team. He's not affecting anyone. Aaron Rodgers was kind of walking around the facility pretending he was vaccinated when he actually wasn't. Now, he does go every week. He goes on Pat McAfee's show, and he talks to Pat McAfee and AJ Hawk and all those guys. And usually that's every Tuesday. But then after he got COVID, he went on the Friday show and he was telling why he didn't get vaccinated. So apparently said he was allergic to one of the ingredients in both the Moderna and Pfizer one. He said He was allergic somehow. I don't know the scientific reason behind that. And he said he didn't trust the Johnson & Johnson for blood clotting. Fair enough, 100%. And he was stating why he didn't get the vaccines, which I have no problem with him saying that. But I feel like the real issue is, and I think they touched on it too, is why, okay, you don't want to get the vaccine, that's fine, but why did you pretend you were vaccinated? And apparently he said, I did alternative to whoever. He talked to Joe Rogan, other people, other doctors taking, other, he's called it like ointments and stuff to prevent COVID. I don't know, ointment. But yeah, he was taking other stuff. Yeah.
Vaseline really creates a good protection.
Yeah, no. But he said he's like, I took other ointments and other. I'm like, okay, yeah. He took other precautionary stuff to prevent him from getting COVID. That is fine. But the NFL doesn't recognize that whatever the hell Aaron Rodgers was taking as equivalent to the vaccine. It might be better. Who knows? But the NFL does.
Because
probably not.
The two people that we know that have used these techniques, okay,
Joe Rogan and
Aaron Rodgers, both got COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, the medical institutions don't recognize it either. It's not a lack of research. It's because it doesn't work. Like, you might as well carry a crystal around in your pocket and say it's protecting you from vampires. Mm-hmm. Who knows?
But even if it worked better than every vaccine ever created, the NFL doesn't count it as as you being vaccinated. Yeah. So you have to follow the rules.
Yeah. At the end of the
no
day,
matter what.
The NFL pays you an obscene amount of money. Amount of money to play a game that kids play in the schoolyard. The least you could do is not get vaccinated. But follow their precautions to make the game safe for everyone involved.
Well, and also he was comparing himself to like Martin Luther King. It was just like a mess. I don't even know what the hell was going on. But now we're not taking. Obviously, we saw the effect Aaron Rodgers has on the football field. Sunday, you saw the Packers go to Kansas City, and oh my goodness, do they miss him? But
yeah. Jordan Love is.
We're not taking anything. Yeah, we're not taking anything away from Aaron Rodgers, the football player. But definitely, I still think he's one of my favorite players to watch.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
And you have an argument. Him and Brady are in a class by themselves as quarterbacks right now. But that doesn't matter. Still, in my eyes, and I still count myself as an Aaron Rodgers football fan as a player. But off the field, it took, just him lying openly to everyone kind of took away from what I picture Aaron Rodgers as a person, because I watch him every week on the show. He seems like a cool guy, down to earth guy. Especially he has like a book club with the guys. It's a fun time.
On Jeopardy all the time. Yeah, he's definitely more than a football player for sure. But then you see things like this, and the horse. I don't know if it was horse they won, but it's just the things you hear. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, I think when I heard that he got medical advice from Joe Rogan, I'm like, oh my goodness, we're really heading down a bad path. And we like Joe Rogan's podcast, but are you telling me that Joe Rogan's a better doctor than the United States? Exactly Who's not? He's not even a better doctor. He's not even. Okay.
Well, the thing is, like, the NFL pays a lot of money to have really good. The Packers, not even just the NFL. The Packers pay really good money to have doctors around you 24/7, doing things in your best interest. Because if you do well, they do well. They have skin in the game, and you're just going against them. It's a huge slap in the face to the NFL, huge slap in the face to the Packers, and especially the biggest slap in the face to the teammates, because they were all vulnerable because he was walking around. He could have had COVID for God knows how long, and he just wasn't protecting himself.
That's a really good point, Kath. People don't think about players like that, when it comes down to it, everyone says, maybe he was forced to get the vaccine, the NFL makes it so they have to, but at the end of the day, NFL is a private organization. They're doing what they can to protect their assets, right? And you have the choice, sure, it may be stacked against you, but you have to live with the consequences of your decision, like Kyrie's doing, which is why I have more respect for him, right?
Yeah.
But when he says that, he infers that he's vaccinated, and I don't see how we can trust anything that comes out of his mouth. Immunized, right? My bad. But I don't think we can trust anything he says anymore, even on the media. Like, he gave his excuses for the different vaccines, sure, but at the same time, like,
you could have, like we said with Kyrie, you could have these excuses.
Say that at the beginning. Say that 2 months ago.
Say that at the beginning. Don't tell everyone you're immunized. Walk around without a mask and take part in the activities as if you're immunized. Because you never know. Like, guys could have conditions, that they get COVID and they're out, indefinitely. So.
Absolutely. So, obviously, that's been the biggest story, but the main thing the sports world got from, not just from Aaron Rodgers. So, like, the outside world talk about, Aaron Rodgers, lying, saying he was immunized, all that stuff. While that's all going on, the Packers still had to prepare for a football game.
Right.
And poor Jordan Love got thrown into the fire because there's two ways of thoughts going at it. Because you can be like Trevor Lawrence, day one starter, as soon as you got drafted. Well, Trevor, here's the franchise. Here you go. Or you can have the Justin Herbert end, where Tyrod Taylor gets punctured lung by a doctor 5 minutes before a kickoff. Justin Herbert had legit 10 seconds. Anthony Lynn, the coach at the time, walks up to Herbert. Go with the offense. What? Yeah, you're starting. What? What are you talking about? Tyrod can't go. Just get on the field. He had 2 seconds.
With all due respect, football, it's not like you're playing pool or darts and you're the backup and something crazy has to happen for the. You're playing football, one of the most high contact sports. If you're backup, like we played high school football, we were all starters. We've experienced starters and backup. When you're playing football, you got to know that any second you could be thrown in there. You know?
Yeah,
I know it's like at the start of the game, you don't really expect, if you're backup, you don't really expect to say, oh, first drive, you're going in. But at the same time, like backup quarterback,
Right. Especially at that
you
level.
can't be cold.
Yeah.
You can't go in there cold.
No.
You know.
Absolutely. But I know he's not, and Jordan Love not technically a rookie, but he hadn't started a game yet. And the main thing that everyone was talking about was Aaron Rodgers all week. And I totally forgot that Jordan Love was playing. Like, I was just copying the Aaron Rodgers headlines. Then when the game's about to start, they show Jordan Love. I'm like, oh, crap, Jordan Love's first start. Like, I did not even realize this is the guy who's kind of started the whole, not his fault, the Packers' fault for drafting him, that started the Aaron Rodgers versus Packers. This whole offseason, which we're talking about Aaron, it was the Aaron Rodgers offseason.
Can I just jump in? So we say, like, okay, the straw that kind of broke the camel's back in the relationship between the Packers and and Aaron Rodgers was the drafting of Jordan Love, right?
Yes.
How is that any different than how the Packers treated Brett Favre when they drafted Aaron Rodgers?
That's a very good
when
point.
Brett Favre was starting that. What did Brett Favre do?
Well,
Here's
here's the thing, right?
He didn't cry about it.
Well, New England did it to an extent too. They drafted Jimmy Garoppolo, 2014, albeit that went a different direction. Kraft backed Brady up, and then that's a long story. But I feel like for the longest time, Aaron felt that he did not have a say on what the Packers were doing.
Right. There was that.
He was like, okay, like he has every right. I know you guys, you want guys to be humble, right? You see Brady, or you see, Tim Duncan when he was playing. These guys who are at the top of their craft, but they're just humble. They stay out of the media, but they have a say. Aaron Rodgers openly, you got to know if you're that good. Aaron Rodgers knows, I'm damn good at this football thing, and I'm an elite football player. And when you've been there as long as he has, you got to think he can have a say.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. You should when you've
Or just let me ask you this, Gav. Let's say you had a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers. Wouldn't you not go to them and be like, "Hey, what's your input? What do we got to do for this team?" He's actually playing the game, and he's like, you would like to go to your top guy and say, "Hey, what do you want? Like, what's your input on this?"
I could see both. I could definitely see both sides. You in football, like we were talking about, football is a business. They got to protect their assets. They also have to get assets. They have to get quarterbacks that are going to be able to fill in, because football is a young man's game. Quarterbacks, they're only getting older. There's obviously exceptions where some get better with age, like fine wine, like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. But you have to develop some sort of backup plan. Not only a backup plan, you have to put money into the bank. So by the time he's ready to leave, by the time Tom Brady's ready to leave, or Aaron Rodgers is ready to leave, you have someone ready to go. So you don't miss a beat when you throw him in. So I get that the front office needs to make a decision for the future of the club. However, at the same time, you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers who's put in his whole career and has entrusted his whole career with that organization. You should run it by him. Hey, we're going to draft him. Because it's not like they just drafted a stud receiver and then you're a star receiver and you're like, what the heck? Because there's a bunch of receivers.
Right.
When you draft a young quarterback high,
and they traded up to get him.
Right.
That's a slap in the face of the quarterback. So, they did it to Brett Favre. They did it to Aaron Rodgers now. So, tasting his own medicine.
Well, and also we can relate this to you, Johnny. Your Giants did it with Daniel Jones. Eli was still the quarterback when they took Daniel Jones.
I feel like Eli was more on his way out than A-Rod was,
Yeah.
especially because even with the Packers, like everyone and their mother knows that they need a second wide receiver.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of doing that, let's trade up for a backup QB. We hope to replace A-Rod.
Mm-hmm. And you look at that wide receiver class,
Right.
who you
It's
could have
pretty
traded up
solid.
for. I know CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson were gone, but still, you could have traded up and got one of those guys.
I mean, they were willing to trade up,
Yeah.
right? But even also the Giants were in a lot worse position,
Absolutely.
standings-wise, than the Packers were last season, right?
The year the Packers traded, so they drafted Jordan Love last year, not this draft, the one before.
Right.
They were in the NFC Championship game again.
Exactly. It's not really the
So-
time to find a replacement the year after you're in the NFC Championship game, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not sure what the back in the day Packers were with Brett Favre. I'm not sure, but I assume they weren't.
They were pretty good.
They were still pretty good. Okay.
With
Donald
Brett Favre,
Driver.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I remember, and it's albeit because Brett Favre retired 100 times and came back 100 times.
Yeah, well, he retired from the Packers, and he retired from the Jets, and he retired from the Vikings.
Yeah. I remember when Rodgers it wasn't like Aaron Rodgers was a nobody. Aaron Rodgers and Alex Smith were a debate who was going to be the number one pick in the draft. And then they just saw this kid from Cal who a month before the draft was the slam dunk number one pick. And for some reason, San Francisco liked Alex Smith better. They saw this guy who could have been the number one pick in the draft fall. And they're like, well, we'll take him. They didn't trade up. They just took him. Who the hell was talking about Jordan Love before the draft? It was Joe Burrow, Tua, and Herbert, right? Mm-hmm. No one was talking about Jordan Love at all. And I heard his name because Mel Kiper was like, maybe a third round, second round draft pick if you want to. And they said he has a wild arm, but his mechanics aren't that good. I think it's the Mahomes effect. They don't care if you have good mechanics now. If you can just chuck the ball 80 yards down the field.
Mechanics, exactly.
They can teach mechanics. So Matt LaFleur is like, you know what? Let me pick my guy to replace Aaron Rodgers. You keep him behind him for 2-3 years, and we won't skip a beat. Well, Sunday we found out, you know what? Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady said don't grow on trees, because as good as the Packers team is, and we saw how well their defense played, they missed Aaron Rodgers, and I think they would have smoked Kansas City if Aaron Rodgers was playing Sunday.
Kansas City put what, 17 points?
13 points.
13.
that
What was the final
very
score?
rough-
13-7.
13-7.
Very
Yeah,
rough
I mean,
game. This week wasn't good. There was some pretty
a lot of
slow
upsets.
games.
Mm-hmm, which
A lot of
we're going to
upsets.
get into.
We'll
Yeah,
get
but
into very
you're
shortly.
right, Gav. Kansas City, if they scored 13 points, a team that last year, the last 3 years, have been borderline unstoppable on offense. The Packers' defense, albeit they've had their struggles this year, we're not saying they haven't. They only score 1 touchdown, 2 field goals you hold them to, 13 points, and the Packers lose. And you lose.
Keep one of the best offenses in the NFL to 13 points, and you can't beat them.
I want to know what the score would have been, because Aaron Rodgers, without their last game when they played Arizona, he was without Valdez-Scantling, was without
Devontae.
Lazard, and not to mention this guy named Devontae Adams didn't play either. Not to mention their left tackle was out. Not to mention their tight end Bobby Tunyon got hurt during the game, playing at the time the undefeated Arizona Cardinals. All they had was Aaron Rodgers, and they won.
Yep.
And now all they needed was, in this case, 2 touchdowns. 2 touchdowns against Kansas City with the backup quarterback with all the weapons there. Bakhtiari's not back yet, but you know what I mean. And they couldn't do it. And we're not questioning Aaron Rodgers' talent on the football field. Mm-hmm. We know he's first ballot Hall of Famer, top 10 all time. But man, that was, I'm not saying Jordan Love doesn't have a future because I can't write people off one game, but
it was not good. But I mean,
that was not a good start.
Maybe, like we said before, you should always be ready, but maybe he wasn't mentally prepared to go into that game. It was
That's
a short
true.
week for him,
Mm-hmm.
But still, I mean,
It was no Mike White. Start.
Yeah, you know what, Gav?
who's that?
So,
right.
can we just have, before we switch to Gavin's Jets, we just want to get one quick thought. Do you think, I think Green Bay stock actually went up a bit on Sunday, just because they didn't have arguably the best quarterback in football, and their defense looked phenomenal. Their special teams was out of whack. We get that. They were muffin kicks left and right. But if Aaron Rodgers is there, they light up Kansas City. Mm-hmm. So I feel like you can take some positives away. But now I'm, you know what? If this offseason, if I'm the Green Bay Packers, hey, Aaron, we'll get rid of this Jordan Love kid. How much? Blank check. Handing him a blank check, so many years, and how much you want, it doesn't matter. And Devontae's probably want to come back if you're coming back too.
I mean, sure they lost, but I still think that it was a positive game for them because their defense has been the question mark more or less throughout the past few years, right?
Yeah.
And now it's just, okay, well, sure, Aaron Rodgers wasn't there. Sure, offense played like crap, but our defense held Kansas City. They haven't playing well, but still, Patty, Tyreek, Kelsey held them to 13 points. Not even 2 touchdowns. Like, it's big.
And the good thing about the Aaron Rodgers thing now is once you've tested positive for COVID, 90 days you don't have to get tested because technically you're immune for the virus for a little bit. So he has 90 days without a COVID test. This is the chance that Green Bay needs to